I know, man, you gave it everything, your love, your time, your effort, and still you lost her. And that pain, it's not just in your chest, it's everywhere. It's in the silence when you're lying awake at night. It's in the pit of your stomach when you check your phone, hoping to see her name, but it's not there. It's in the memories that won't stop replaying, making you question everything. What went wrong? What you could have done differently? Maybe you begged, maybe you promised to change, maybe you gave her space, thinking she'd come back, but none of it worked, and now you're stuck, trapped between regret and desperation, searching for something, anything, to make this right. But listen to me, you're looking at this all wrong. This isn't the end, it's a turning point. You want her back? Then stop chasing, stop drowning in what ifs. It's time to do what actually works. Let's get into it. Quick heads up, everyone. Most of you will never get real advice about women. You're out here guessing, screwing up DMs, ruining relationships, or struggling in the bedroom. Nobody's giving you the real deal. Well, I'm the only one who can. For the first time ever, I'm offering a direct one-on-one chat with me. You'll get to message me personally about your struggles, DMs, sex, relationships, marriage, whatever it is. I'll give you exact steps to fix it. This is huge. You and me, one-on-one. I've set up 4 different packages, but listen up, this is only for those serious about leveling up. And VIP spots, they're limited. Let's continue. Point 1, reclaim your strength. Listen to me, man. I need you to really hear this. A lot of guys lose themselves in relationships without even realizing it. They start out strong, confident, independent, sure of who they are, but slowly, over time, they become too available, too agreeable. They start sacrificing their own needs just to keep her happy. They become dependent, relying on their woman for validation, for happiness, for their sense of worth. And then, when she starts pulling away, they crumble. Sound familiar? It happens more often than you think. And the worst part, it's a pattern that keeps repeating itself. Let me give you an example. There was a man named Jake. Jake was a go-getter. He had dreams, ambition, and a sense of purpose. When he met Emily, it was clear she was drawn to him. She admired his drive, his ability to navigate life with confidence, and his passion for his career and goals. He was the kind of man who had a clear vision of where he was going, and it was magnetic. But as time went on, Jake's focus began to shift. He started putting Emily first, ahead of his passions, his ambitions, even his friends. Slowly, he became more concerned with making her happy than with living out his own life's purpose. He would bend over backward to please her, afraid that if he didn't, he'd lose her. He'd cancel plans with friends to spend more time with her, ignore his dreams to focus on her needs, and even stop making decisions based on what was best for him. And, as you probably guessed, things started to change. The things that originally made him attractive, the confidence, the ambition, the strong sense of self, started to slip away. Instead, he became insecure, uncertain, and focused more on keeping her happy than on being the man she initially fell for. Eventually, Emily left. Not because she didn't care about him, but because she no longer saw the man she had once been drawn to. She didn't leave because she didn't love him, but because she couldn't be with a man who had lost his own identity. But here's the thing, you are not Jake. You don't have to lose yourself. You don't have to keep chasing her or making her the center of your world while you fall apart. You have a choice right now. You can either keep spiraling down that same path, letting her become everything while you lose everything that makes you who you are, or you can take a long, hard look in the mirror and start becoming the man you were meant to be. The man she fell for wasn't desperate. He wasn't needy. He wasn't constantly afraid of losing her. He was confident, driven, passionate. He was a man who had his own purpose, his own life, his own goals, and that's what made him so attractive. It's time to get that back, not just for her, but for you. Ask yourself, who were you before the relationship? What were your dreams? What made you excited to wake up in the morning? What made you feel alive? Rediscover those passions. Rebuild your confidence. Get back to what makes you the man you are, your drive, your independence, your purpose. Because once you do, everything shifts, not just in how she sees you, but in how you see yourself. And that is the key to turning everything around, not just for the relationship, but for your own growth, your own happiness. Trust me, this is the first step to becoming the man you're supposed to be. Point 2, give her the space to feel your absence. I need you to hear this, man. Really hear it. Right now, she doesn't miss you. Maybe she cares, maybe she even feels guilty, but that deep, aching longing, that pull that makes someone rethink everything, she's not feeling it. And do you know why? Because you haven't given her the chance to. Let me paint you a picture. There's this guy, let's call him Jake. Every morning, every night, without fail, he texts his girl a simple good morning or good night. It was their thing. It was comfortable. Then they broke up, but he kept doing it. He thought it would remind her of what they had, of how much he cared, but to her, it became background noise, predictable, easy to ignore. Then one day, he stopped. No messages, no calls, just silence. And something shifted. She found herself checking her phone, wondering, why isn't he reaching out? Has he moved on? That curiosity turned into doubt. That doubt turned into missing him. And that's how attraction works. Because here's the truth. People don't value what they know they have. They value what they think they're losing. And right now, she doesn't feel like she's losing you because you're still there. Maybe not physically, but emotionally. She still feels your energy, your attention, your presence in her life, even if you're not together. So what do? You disappear. Not out of spite, not as a manipulation tactic, but because you respect yourself enough to step back. Stop checking her social media. Stop reacting to her life. Stop making it easy for her to have you in the background without actually being with you. When you pull away, when you remove yourself from her world, something powerful happens. She starts to feel your absence, and that is when she starts to notice what's missing. She starts wondering, why isn't he chasing me? She starts questioning, did I make a mistake? She starts feeling that void, the same one you've been feeling since the breakup. And that's when things shift. But here's the key. You have to mean it. You're not just giving her space to get her back. You're doing it to get yourself back, to break free from the cycle of obsession and regain control over your emotions. Because when you do that, you don't just give her space to miss you. You give yourself space to heal, to grow, to become a man who isn't waiting for her to return, but is focused on becoming the best version of himself. And that, more than anything, is what will make her feel your absence, because by the time she realizes what she lost, you might not even want her back. Point 3. Redefine yourself. For you, not for her. Listen, man, this is where most guys mess up. They think, if I change, she'll come back. So what do? They hit the gym, they start dressing better, they read self-improvement books, they act like a whole new person, but deep down, they're not doing it for themselves. They're doing it for her. And let me tell you something, she'll see right through it. Women have an instinct for this kind of thing. They know when you're making moves out of genuine self-growth and when you're just putting on a show hoping they'll notice. And nothing is more unattractive than a man whose entire motivation is tied to one person's validation. So let me ask you something. If she never came back, would you still make these changes? Because if the answer is no, then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Now, here's the hard truth. If this breakup exposed your flaws, your insecurities, your lack of ambition, your emotional instability, good. That means you've been given something most men never get, clarity. Now you see the cracks in yourself that you were blind to before, and that's a gift. But what you do next, that's what really matters. Because the reality is, the man you were before wasn't good enough, not just for her, but for you. And that's why this moment is powerful. You have a choice. You can either sit in your pain, waiting for her to change her mind, or you can use this as the turning point that makes you unrecognizable in the best way possible. So what's the move? You level up, for real this time. Hit the gym, not just to look better, but to develop discipline, because discipline is what separates the weak from the strong. Start that project you've been putting off, not because it'll impress her, but because following through on your own vision builds confidence. Get serious about your career, not for external validation, but because being financially and mentally stable puts you in control of your future. Develop new skills, not to prove anything to her, but to expand your world and increase your value as a man. Meet new people, not to make her jealous, but to remind yourself that you have options. You were never meant to orbit around one person. And here's the best part. when she finally looks back, when she sees the man you've become, you won't even care if she wants you back. Because by then, you'll have built a life so solid, so fulfilling, and so rich with purpose that whether she's in it or not, you win either way. And when you reach that point, that's when everything shifts. Because the truth is, the man she fell for wasn't desperate, wasn't seeking approval, wasn't living for her. He was strong, confident, and grounded in himself. It's time to become that man again, but not for her, for you. Because once you do that, you won't have to chase anything ever again. The right people, the right opportunities, and the right kind of love will chase you. And that's real power. Point 4. Show, don't tell. Let's get one thing straight. Women don't believe words. They believe actions. You can say, I've changed. I'm different now. I get it. But if nothing about you actually shifts, if your life still looks the same, if you're still the same insecure, lost version of yourself, then guess what? It means nothing. Because change isn't something you announce, it's something you embody. Let me tell you about a guy I knew. He was in a long-term relationship, thought everything was fine, until one day she left. She told him she needed a man with ambition, with direction, and what did he do? He begged, he promised he'd change, he swore up and down that he'd do better, but nothing actually happened. And eventually, she moved on. That was his wake-up call, not her words, not even the breakup, losing her for real. That's what finally forced him to stop talking about change and become it. And that's when everything shifted. He built a business, not to impress her, but because he realized he needed a purpose bigger than just keeping a woman around. He focused on his health, not to post gym selfies, but because he wanted to master himself, mind and body. He traveled, grew, leveled up in every way, mentally, emotionally, financially. Fast forward a year, he ran into her at an event. She barely recognized him. She couldn't believe how different he was, the way he carried himself, the way he didn't care whether she noticed or not. And suddenly, she was the one drawn back in, but by then he had outgrown her. That's where you need to be, not in a place where you're waiting for her to see how much you've changed, but in a place where you don't even care if she does. Because when you actually grow, when you become better not for her, but for yourself, you don't have to convince anyone of anything. She'll see it, everyone will, and by then, you won't even need her to. Because the moment you stop chasing external validation, when you shift from talking about change to living it, that's when everything in your life starts moving in the right direction. And that's when the right people, women, friends, mentors, opportunities gravitate towards you. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you are something. And that's the difference between a man who talks about change and a man who becomes it. Point 5. Be ready to walk away for good. This is the hardest part, but it's also the most powerful. You can't truly get her back if you're afraid of losing her forever. If you hold on so tight to the fear of never seeing her again, you're giving up your power. You're putting her at the center of your life, and when you do that, you give her control over your emotional state. Read that again. You cannot get her back if you're afraid of losing her forever. As long as she feels like you're waiting, like you're still lingering in the background, hoping she'll come around, she has no reason to take you seriously. She has no urgency to make any changes or reconsider her decision. In her mind, you're still there. You're still an option, still someone she can reach out to at any moment. Why should she miss you? Why should she regret her decision? But the moment you stop waiting, the moment you stop chasing after her, that's when everything changes. When she sees that you finally moved on, when she realizes that you're no longer available and you're no longer giving her any of your emotional energy, it creates a shift. You stop being a constant in her life, and suddenly she's forced to reckon with the absence of you. And here's the truth. The most valuable thing a man has is not his words, not his promises, not even his love. The most valuable thing a man has is his energy, where he chooses to invest it. And when a woman sees that you're willing to take that energy away from her, it forces her to see things from a new perspective. It makes her realize that she doesn't have unlimited access to your time, your attention, or your love anymore. When you take that step back, you begin to regain your own value. You stop being there whenever she needs you and start being there for yourself. You're no longer constantly trying to prove your worth to her. Instead, you start focusing on proving your worth to yourself. And that's what makes you magnetic. She thought she had all the time in the world. She thought you'd always be there, quietly waiting, patiently hoping for a second chance. She thought you were just another person she could keep in her orbit without any real fear of losing you. But when you pull away, when you make it clear that you're not waiting anymore, she'll start to feel the weight of your absence. She'll start to question things. Why isn't he reaching out? Why isn't he chasing me anymore? Has he moved on? And in that moment, she may start to feel that longing for you. But here's the thing, by the time she notices, you may have already moved on yourself. You may have already found your own direction and purpose, and at that point, you might not even want her back. The best thing you can do is stop focusing on getting her back. Instead, focus on getting back to yourself. If you've rebuilt your confidence, your independence, your ambition, if you've stopped chasing and started thriving in your own life, she'll notice. She will feel the difference, and at that moment, you will have the power to decide, does she even deserve another shot? Because by then you might realize that the person who really lost in this situation isn't you. You didn't lose her, she lost you. When you stop waiting, when you stop chasing, when you stop putting your life on hold for someone who isn't ready to value you, you take back your power. And that's when things truly start to shift. When she sees that you are no longer available, no longer desperate for her attention, no longer emotionally attached to the outcome, that's when you become the one with the upper hand. So, be ready to walk away for good. Be ready to let her go. Not out of anger, but out of self-respect. Be ready to move forward in your life, whether or not she comes back. Because when you reclaim your independence, your confidence, your strength, that's when she will see what she's lost. And when that moment comes, you get to decide if she's even worth a second chance. By then, you might realize that you never lost her. It was her who lost you. Listen carefully. This is the final crucial point you need to understand. You can't control her. You can't force her to come back. As much as you might wish for her to come running back, desperate to fix what was broken, that's not something you can make happen. You can't control her feelings, her decisions, or how she moves forward in life. But the one thing you can absolutely control is yourself. How you respond to this situation, how you grow, how you level up, how you carry yourself from this point on. Too many guys get stuck in the waiting game. They sit there, hoping things will change, checking her social media obsessively, living in the past, replaying every conversation, every moment, every what if. But here's the truth. Those guys stay stuck. They live in a world of hope and maybe, and as long as you're holding on to those feelings, you're not moving forward. On the other hand, the men who truly turn things around, the ones who thrive after heartbreak, are the ones who don't wait. They don't sit around hoping for things to magically fix themselves. They take action. They do something. They focus on themselves. They stop looking backward and start building their future. And this is where the power begins to shift. It's in the moment when you choose to reclaim your strength, when you stop waiting for her to make a move, when you give her the space to miss you. It's when you decide to redefine yourself, not for her, not to win her back, but for you, for your own growth, your own self-respect, your own future. When you do this, when you stop chasing, when you become the man you've always wanted to be, not for her, but for yourself, that's when the power shifts in your favor. It may seem counterintuitive, but as soon as you stop making your life about her, that's when you take control. When that day comes, when she finally sees the man you've become, stronger, more confident, more self-assured, she'll look at you differently. And you will have to ask yourself one very important question. Does she even deserve another shot? By then, you'll be so far ahead in your life, so much more fulfilled, so much more powerful that you'll question whether it's even worth going back to something that once caused you pain. And here's the real kicker. You may realize you never really lost her at all. The truth is, she lost you. Because by the time she notices the changes in you, by the time she sees the new, improved version of you, you may not even want her back anymore. You'll have moved on, and you'll have built a life that's stronger and more fulfilling than it ever was before. So stop waiting. Stop holding on to something that might not even be meant for you anymore. Take charge of your own life, reclaim your strength, rediscover yourself. Because when you do, you won't just be someone she wants back, you'll be someone who doesn't need her anymore. And that's when you truly win. Before we end, I got over 1,000 messages from guys who missed the course, and there were only 100 spots. Since I care about my community, I'm reopening it in 3 days from today. But here's the deal, only 50 spots. That's the best I can do. No handouts, no second chances. Everyone else left behind, and this is the last time at this price. Next time, it's gonna cost more if there is a next time. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Don't be lazy. Hit that subscribe button and stay sharp. Catch you in the next one. Be ready.